What's happening, YouTube? This is round 4 of the 1 vs 1 league. My opponent this round was King the 5th 26, or simply King. And on this round we were playing on the Supermax Prison map, and I got to go first. So my strategy for going first is basically to focus on the top right, because if you take the back, then you can take one of the sides, and then that creates a run out for you if you're going first. Another tip of advice is that you shouldn't take territories in the center of the map, because if you do that, like, take the territories that are connected to the regions, because if you do that, then you can end up blocking yourself in, and then it makes it such that when you're trying to invade your opponent's continents or regions, it's not possible because your troops will be blocked in. That's why you want to make sure that you take as few territories inside the middle as possible. Also, another tip of advice is to have your territories disconnected in all of the regions, so that your opponent has to split off and do one-on-one manual roll dices. And after going for focusing on the top right, I also focused on the bottom left. That right there is what is called a run-in, because I can just deploy some troops in the bottom left, and then I can take it without having to split off anywhere. But I didn't want to take territories in the center. That's why I made sure that I took the bottom left. So now it's not a perfect run-in, because now I have to do one-on-one dice rolls. However, it's better to do that than take too many territories in the center of the map, as I said, because it can block you in when you're trying to invade your opponent. So on the deployment, I decided to put some troops in the top right, because I thought he was gonna put some there to prevent me from taking it. That's why I put more in the top right, and then I decided to put some in the bottom left, as I said earlier, because that's what I was focusing on. And then I decided to choose the bottom middle. I could have gone for the top middle or the bottom right as well. And probably it was better to take the top middle, because it has fewer territories than the bottom middle does. But going for the bottom right wouldn't have been as good, because I would have to split off in 3 different directions, and that I could have lost many there. So seeing on his deployment, he has his 13 in the center, so I was happy to see that, because his troops are blocked. Now all I have to do is take the bottom left and the bottom middle, and then that should be enough theoretically for him to not be able to invade both of them. So I took the bottom middle, and then I did the one-on-one dice, because these two territories in the bottom left are not connected. And then I took both of them, but I decided not to take the top right, because I didn't want him to be able to blitz my army. I wanted to be able to use that in the future potentially. So he got 8 on deployment. He can place some on that 8 in the middle, because that middle has access to my bottom left, but he has to deploy some troops for the bottom middle as well. So now he has a 7 on 6 over here. This is a pretty big manual roll right here. This is pretty game deciding. If he doesn't get through, then I'm going to win because of getting a huge troop advantage. However, he wins two dice rolls in a row, me losing 2 troops twice, and then invades both of them, which gives him the opportunity to survive. It doesn't allow him to win, it just allows him to survive. Because I still have that 4 down there in the bottom middle. I still have that 8 up there in the top right. It's just unfortunate that he was able to break through. So he places his 13 down in the top right, and now I have a choice. Should I go and try to blitz his 13 by placing it down in the top right, or should I go for the taking territory and then trying to take the bottom middle? And I decided to go for the bottom middle, because I didn't want to risk potentially losing that attack, that blitz roll. So then I just took territory and then I fortified back to the bottom middle and hoping that he won't be able to crack through. So there's a 6-on-3, he loses that, which is pretty big for me. So I was thinking, okay, at this point I thought that was enough for me to win, right? Because I'm gonna get this continent. Now all I have to do is place my troops down and then go for his continent. However, I made a mistake here in that I should have placed it on inside of the continent, so then I could have attacked the 3. That way, he wouldn't have had a way to get an easy attack into the bottom middle. Another thing that happened here is that I kept losing these one-on-one dice rolls. Like, I lost 3 of those in a row, which was pretty big. But I was still able to capture the continent. So he still has to break through both of these. But he has that 3 there, so now he has to win the 4-on-2, which he wins that. And now I'm looking at my cards, so it's still very close at this point, even though he's like constantly having to break through these continents. So now I'm gonna just go place my troops down and take territory and capture the bottom middle. What probably I should have done was just like stop here, just leave my 5, because taking one more territory wasn't going to help me as much. But he has a set on 3, which really changes things. Because otherwise it would have been a 6-on-4 instead of what he had there. And he is able to break through again. But I do have a set at 4, so I can work my way back. He does end up taking a lot of territory in the bottom middle, like winning a lot of these manual dice rolls. He wins every single one down here, except for this very last one. If he had gotten that very last one, that would have been really bad for me, because then I would have to like break through that as well. So what I do is I turn in my set because I have to, I have no choice. And then I decide to go for the top right, and as well as taking the top middle, so that he would have to split his troops to break through both of the continents. So then I have to do the 1 dice again. I end up losing 2 of them, which is unfortunate, but I end up winning the 3rd one. And then I still have enough troops to break there, and then I can place my 3 over there in the top middle. Now he has 7 troops to try to break through, so he can place down a couple there next to the top middle, and then the top. So he has to win this 6-on-3 down here. He does a manual, and then he blitzes, and he's able to break through. And he's also able to break through the top right. So the dice rolls are working for him. He's able to break through both of them. So now I just do the same thing that I did last turn, where I'm trying to capture both of them. So I put some there to take the top right, and I take some there to take the top middle. Now he has to break through both of these 2s, so he can put down 4, and then he can put up 4-on-2, and he wins both of those again. But he does, fortunately for me, he doesn't win the 2-on-1 in the bottom middle. I do not have a set at this point, so all I can do is try recapturing and then fortifying and hoping he can't break through. He has enough, so he's trying to both break through and capture the continent. He doesn't work for him there, but he does break through. Okay, then I turn in my sets in order to take all of these territories and then capture the continents, like the top right, top middle, and then I was going for the bottom left because I still have a big enough force to go down all the way there, so long as I get a good 1v1 dice roll here, which I do. And then I can bring my army down because all these territories are connected, so I can take the bottom left as well. So now I have 3 continents, but he has a set of cards, so it's not over at this point. He places 3 down there so he can take the bottom middle, and then he places the rest. That was a little bit risky because he lost 1 there, and now he's coming around the circle. And if he loses any like troops over here, fortunately for him, he doesn't lose any. Then it would have been like a 3-on-1 instead of a 4-on-1, and then that could have potentially backfired on him. But he took the risk to take the bottom middle, and then boom, I lose that 6-on-3 right there, and that is pretty devastating. Pretty much game over at that point. No dice indeed. So I do not have a set of cards, so things are not looking too good for me, especially after losing that attack. If I had a set of cards here, it might have been able to damage him a lot more because... And, okay, so he does capture both the top right and the top left, which makes it even worse because I won't be able to break through all of it. All I can do is damage the bottom, invade the bottom middle, and now he's getting 21 troops. I do have a set at 4, and if he doesn't have a set at 4 cards, then I potentially could do some damage. However, he is getting like 21 troops at this point, so that's probably game over, because even if he doesn't have a set at 4, I still have to wait again to have a set at 3, which is too long, because by that point he'll have a set for sure. So I can turn in my sets and do some amount of damage right here, 15, which is an okay amount. So I put it up there in the top middle. I didn't want to waste troops going for that, so I decided to attack the top right and then go down to the bottom middle, and then I start doing manual dice, hoping for some good luck rolls, some good dice rolls. I end up winning quite a few, and I do need the luck because I'm way behind at this point. End up blitzing that, but I do not have enough to go for the top left, so I ended up just going for territory. What I should have done there was, initially, I should have captured the top middle, and then he would have had to break through, but he still would have gotten enough troops to where he would have been able to invade the top middle. So at this point, I didn't have enough to make a real comeback. And like I said, he's gonna get his set before I am, so it's game over at this point because I only have 2 cards. He's gonna get 5 cards. There's nothing I can do. But I don't give up right away. I go for the 1 dice, invade his continent, then go invade the other continent, seeing that there's nothing there. Okay, so I didn't have enough to attack through either of those. He's gonna turn his set in because he's at 5, and that's game over. So I was feeling confident seeing that 13 originally in the middle because it was blocked. However, he did get some really good dice rolls, and I did lose that attack, the 6-on-3, to invade his continent in the bottom middle. So the dices were not going my way that game. So now he's just cleaning up everything, the final territories. And now we're on to game number 2. This time I'm going second. So having lost going first, he gets 2 points for winning going second, in other words. So he's winning 2-0. So now I'm going second, trying to make a comeback. So he does the same strategy as I would have done, which is create that run out in the top right. And I'm just trying to make it very difficult for him by having my territories spaced out, disconnected in the rest of the regions, and mirroring him in the bottom middle, and taking territory in the center, in the interior continents, as I call them, and not the middle, because taking territory in the middle is not so good, because you can end up blocking yourself. So now I'm just filling up the rest, and I take a cell in the middle, because my plan at this point is I want to put troops in the middle, so that if he goes for the interior regions, like the regions that are not the middle, the 6 regions that are not the middle, then I have my entire army there ready, and then I can use that to break through all of his continents, and then potentially capture a continent or two in the process. So that was my strategy going into this. So an alternate strategy I could have done potentially was during my deployment was instead of putting troops in the middle, like so that I can use it to invade his continents, like what I could have done was place troops in the top middle, puts like 5 there, put some like 5 troops in the bottom middle, and then put some troops in the bottom left. That way I could potentially go for those continents and prevent him from going for them himself. And then I would have had, but then I decided not to do that because I thought that's what he's doing. So I do put some troops in the bottom middle, because that is something that I could attain pretty easily. But then I decide to put it in the middle. But at this moment I realized that he's gonna win this, because all he has to do is put troops down, and then he can blitz my army. He ends up winning that blitz roll, but it doesn't really matter that he didn't, like, even if he had lost that blitz roll, it still would have been in his advantage, because I wouldn't have too many troops to rebound. So now I'm really weakened, and he's gonna take that. He's gonna take the bottom right pretty easily, and it's gonna be very well fortified. And luckily for him, he wins the 2-on-1 in order to take the top right. So at this point, it's really not looking too well for me. What I do is I place my troops down in the middle, and then I try using manual dice to take the bottom middle, and then I want to invade his continents, as many of them as possible. But I know he has a big army down in the bottom right, that's why I don't want to unleash that. So what I end up doing instead is just trying to invade and take, but I didn't have enough troops to actually fully take the top right. That's why I fortified back to the bottom middle, but at this point it's not going to be possible for me to win, because he's getting too many troops holding that continent. Because all he has to do is place the troops down, and he can also go for the bottom left. That's why he didn't put all of his troops like on that 10 army. So what he does, he just ends up invading me, and at this point it's game over, because I'm not gonna get that many troops, because I'm only gonna get like 5 or so troops. That's not enough to make a real dent into him. Actually 4 troops for the 14 territories. So that's not enough to break through. So I just make my final stand here, capturing some territory. But there's really nothing I can do at this point. After I made a false prediction, because I thought he's gonna go for like all of the outside regions, and then what my plan was that I was gonna take my big army and then invade all his continents, and then also take, or like capture one of the continents in the process. However, like, he put his army in the middle as well, so that was connected to my army, and that was all he had to do was at that point was blitz my big army, and then I wouldn't have enough to rebound. So yeah, that's what ended that game. So this is just my final round. I see there's a 5 there. I go and I try to invade the top right, do something. But yeah, all he has to do is finish this up. I give him a good game because, okay, so after he wins this game, now he's gonna have 3 points because he won going second, and now he's won going first. So that's enough to advance because you only need 3 points to win and advance to the next round. So this means with this loss, I'm out of the tournament. I did qualify for the next tournaments because I made it in the top 8, which is enough to move on. But I do want to congratulate King the Fifth for an excellent game. It was really fun, enjoyable. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.